He was famously stiff on camera, awkward posture, a strange cadence, a face that rarely smiled. Critics mocked him constantly. One famous line said he'd stay on TV as long as other people had no talent. And yet, for 23 years, nearly every major star in American entertainment had to pass through his stage to prove they truly made it. But that's not the most important thing Ed Sullivan did. At a time when American television quietly kept black performers off the biggest stages, one famously uncharismatic Sunday night host kept booking them anyway, again and again, year after year, regardless of who complained. Today, we're looking at Ed Sullivan's life and 4 lessons about courage that have nothing to do with being smooth, likeable, or popular. Ed Sullivan started his career as a newspaper columnist, not a performer. He had no singing voice, no dance training, no natural on-camera charisma. By most accounts, he wasn't a particularly warm or easy man personally either. In 1948, he was given a variety show on CBS almost as an experiment. Nobody expected the Ed Sullivan Show to last. It ran for 23 years. Sullivan's real gift wasn't performing. It was recognizing talent before anyone else did and having the stubbornness to book it, regardless of what network executives or sponsors thought. That stubbornness showed up most powerfully in one specific place. During the 1950s and 60s, the height of segregation in America, network television was cautious, often cowardly, about featuring black performers on major broadcasts. Sponsors worried it would offend Southern affiliates and viewers. Many shows simply avoided the risk entirely. Sullivan didn't. Over the run of his show, he booked black performers more consistently than almost any other program of his era. Jazz musicians, gospel singers, dancers, comedians, and later Motown acts who would go on to define American pop music. He wasn't a civil rights leader. He never claimed to be. He was a talent booker who simply refused to let prejudice dictate his lineup. Here's the first thing Sullivan's career teaches us. He built his entire reputation on one simple, almost boring-sounding principle. If the act was good, it belonged on his stage. Full stop. No other criteria mattered to him. In an industry where plenty of powerful people were making decisions based on fear, image, and prejudice, Sullivan made his based on merit. He watched a performance and asked one question: is this good enough for my audience to see? That sounds simple. It wasn't in that era. Applying that standard consistently publicly on network television took real nerve. Most people don't need this level of courage in their daily decisions, but the underlying lesson still applies broadly. How often do we let bias, our own or someone else's, creep into decisions that should be based purely on merit? Who's being overlooked in your own life or work, not because they lack talent, but because of assumptions that have nothing to do with their actual ability? Sullivan's answer was to look past all of that, every single time, and just watch the work. Sullivan was not an activist. He didn't give impassioned speeches about equality. He wasn't marching in the streets or writing manifestos. He just kept booking the acts he believed in, show after show, year after year, and let the consistency speak for itself. This is a version of courage that doesn't get talked about enough. Not the dramatic, headline-grabbing kind, the quiet, repetitive, unglamorous kind, showing up and making the same right decision over and over, even when it would have been easier to fold. Sponsors pressured him. Southern affiliate stations occasionally threatened to drop the show over certain bookings. Sullivan, by most historical accounts, simply didn't budge. Real courage often looks like this. Not a single dramatic stand, but a boring, repeated refusal to compromise week after week until it adds up to something historic. You don't need a stage or a spotlight to practice this. You need the willingness to make the same right call consistently, even when nobody's applauding you for it. By the 1960s, Ed Sullivan had one of the largest platforms in the entire country. Tens of millions of Americans tuned in every Sunday night. That kind of reach is rare, and it comes with a choice. You can use it purely for your own benefit. Safest ratings, least controversy, most comfortable path. Or you can use it to open doors other people don't have access to. Sullivan consistently chose the second option, even when the first would have been easier and safer for his own career. Every time he put a black performer on that stage in front of that audience, he was quietly expanding what tens of millions of Americans considered normal. He was using his platform not just to entertain, but to widen the aperture of who got to be seen and celebrated. Most of us will never have an audience of that scale, but most of us have some form of platform, a team we lead, a following we've built, a room where people listen when we speak. The question Sullivan's life poses is simple. Are you using whatever reach you have to open doors, or only to protect your own position? Here's the final lesson, and it might be the most practical one in this entire video. Ed Sullivan didn't change American culture with one dramatic broadcast. He changed it through repetition, booking act after act, week after week, for over 2 decades, until what once felt radical simply became normal. By the late 1960s, seeing black performers on Sullivan's stage wasn't shocking anymore. It was expected. That shift didn't happen because of one bold moment. It happened because Sullivan made the same choice, consistently for over 20 years, until the culture caught up to what he'd been doing all along. We tend to romanticize big, dramatic turning points, but most real change, in culture, in habits, in relationships, in ourselves, comes from unglamorous repetition. The same right choice, made quietly, over and over, long after anyone's paying attention to whether you're still making it. That's not an exciting lesson. It's an honest one. And it's exactly how Ed Sullivan, of all people, ended up changing what American audiences considered normal. Ed Sullivan died in 1974. His show is remembered today mostly for launching Elvis Presley and the Beatles into American living rooms. But underneath that legacy is a quieter, less told story. A stiff, unglamorous television host who spent over 2 decades making the same simple choice again and again, until it helped change what an entire country expected to see on their screens. He wasn't the most talented person in the room. He wasn't the most charismatic or the most naturally courageous. He just kept judging people by their work, showing up consistently, and using his platform to open doors instead of protecting his own comfort. That's a version of courage almost anyone can practice. If this resonated with you, subscribe. We do this every week. I'll see you in the next one.